murder was probably one of the most terrible moments in the history of our country.
Oswald's been shot.
Who killed the president?
Oh, Neil!
I have to spell it out for me, Mr. Garrison.
I think you care more about John Kennedy than your own family.
Why was Kennedy killed?
There's a death warrant out for me, you know?
Who benefited?
The government's gonna jump all over your head, Jimbo.
Who has the power to cover it up?
Now, we're through the looking glass here, people.
People got to know.
Y'all got to start thinking on a different level, like the CIA does.
People got to know why he was killed.
The truth is the most important value we have.
I just want to raise our children and live a normal life. I want my life back.
Nothing is going to keep me from going ahead with my investigation of John Kennedy's murder. I say, let justice be done, though the heavens fall.
From our LA studios, it's now my pleasure to welcome Mr. Oliver J. Stone. Oliver, thanks very much for joining us. First off, let me say congratulations on the 8 nominations for the Academy Awards. You must be delighted.
I've never been called Oliver J. Stone either. It's Oliver William Stone.
Okay.
That's fine.
I pulled a J. We couldn't work a J in there somewhere, could we?
No, thank you, Steve. But I love these Academy Awards. They're great. It's a great day. Wonderful day, actually. Very happy. This is a long road, and it's always nice, considering, you know, what this movie has been through. It's nice to hear from one's colleagues that they appreciate the values in the movie.
One surprising thing was that there was only 1 nomination for an acting award, Tommy Lee Jones. Were you surprised about that yourself?
I'm sad for Kevin because I think he anchored the movie, and I think he did a wonderful job for 3 hours to take us through a difficult landscape. And, you know, he's understated. He's like Gary Cooper. It's not very theatrical, but it's very solid, and it's good work. But I'm happy for Tommy Lee because he was overlooked when he did Coal Miner's Daughter, and he has his coming. It's a long time coming for Tommy.
Yeah.
I also wish Joe and Gary and Donald, there's so many that were good in the movie. You can't get them all.
Yeah, phenomenal performances. Actually, I thought Joe Pesky's wig might have got a nomination itself. It's the most incredible performance by a wig I've ever seen.
It does move around. You know? It does get around.
Oliver, the film essentially proposes the view that the Kennedy assassination was a conspiracy and not the work of a lone crazed gunman. How much of the movie do you say is based on the truth?
Well, it's a difficult call. I'd say, you know, there's a certain body of facts that is not even quite agreed upon between the Warren Commission and its detractors, but I'd say that, you know, roughly about 70%. Beyond that, we're into the area of hypothesis and speculation. And so was the Warren Commission. They speculated on the possibility of a magic bullet and the probability of 3 shots, which I find to be, you know, serious speculation in fiction.
What's the essential purpose of the film? Is it to get people to talk? Is it to put forward a counter view? Is it to put forward a plausible theory or the plausible theory? What's your purpose for the film?
Well, I never quite think in those terms, but to be honest, you know, first of all, I hope it's an exciting film. It's a good mystery, a suspense film, an investigation film. At the same time, I'd like to present a counter myth to what I call the myth of the Warren Commission, because they had a certain body of facts beyond which, you know, they do speculate, we do too, and I would like people to never quite believe the government again in this country because it lied severely to the people, and I think that I would like to see it, you know, where teenagers, the next generation, could never refer to Lee Harvey Oswald as the lone nut assassin of the President Kennedy. I just don't think that that's possible after this film.
Just on the subject of the Warren Commission, we were reading in Variety that no less a person than George Bush, who was a former CIA director, said, "I haven't seen the movie, and there's all kinds of conspiratorial theories floating around on everything. Elvis Presley is rumoured to be alive and well someplace, and I can't say that somebody won't go out and make a movie about that." What do you have to say to George Bush about that?
Listen, George Bush is so out of touch with reality. He's somewhere on the moon. 10% of the American public agrees with George Bush and believes the Warren Commission. The 3 shots killed the president, and Oswald acted alone. He was a communist. Bush has never told the truth. He's constitutionally incapable of it, and he hasn't done so for 30 years. You remember that he was the ex-head of the CIA, and he's an expert at stonewalling the American people. 75% of the American people believe there was a conspiracy. Brian Gumbel, NBC, had a poll the other day. 30,000 phone calls came in. 51% of those phone calls believe that the CIA killed our president. That's pretty shocking. We're saying basically the majority of American people believe that their government removed their president. That's a coup d'etat.
If that's the case, then, Oliver, then if we're saying that there's a conspiracy to kill an American president and still to cover it up, then how can a filmmaker such as yourself go out and safely make a film about the whole subject matter?
Well, the techniques have changed. I couldn't have done this film in the 1960s. You know, assassination was a popular form of removal in those days. I think that not only was John Kennedy removed by this nexus, I think that Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King were also killed by like-minded conspiracies. But I think in the 1970s in America, if you remember, we investigated the CIA heavily, and we investigated intelligence agencies, and I think they changed their methods. And I think that in the 1980s and 90s that they've gone to a more sophisticated technique of essentially liquidating people in the press, using psychological means to discredit people and to render them harmless or meaningless. This is what they did to Jim Garrison in the late 60s, and this is what they tried to do with our movie and me.
Just picking up that point, one of my favourite scenes, Oliver, in the movie is where Kevin Costner is Jim Garrison sitting there watching the telly with his kid, and he sees his own work being portrayed in the worst possible terms. You get a sense that that's in fact what the press has done to you in your movie, JFK?
The press was abominable in this movie and savage. First time I know of a motion picture was criticized before it was finished. The script was stolen. It was circulated to every media organization in the United States. It was commented on. The conclusions were given away. It was ridiculed. I was ridiculed. This was before the movie came out. When the movie came out, there was a second wave of attacks that was savage and misrepresenting what the film said, ridiculing it, and misrepresenting what I said. And this has gone on and on and on. I've fought back on every level I could on television. I've written letters to the newspapers and op-ed pieces. Sometimes they get printed, sometimes they get changed, but it's been a major war against the press in my country, the establishment press. And I must say that, you know, organs like the New York Times have never given this the seriousness that it deserves. The picture proposes that, among other things, Lyndon Johnson changed the policy of the United States when he came into office, that he moved the country to the right. He started to, it was a subtle shift, but it was a shift nonetheless, that Kennedy was taking it in a leftward direction. All these arguments have been ignored, and including this new book that's come out by John Newman called JFK in Vietnam, which proposes and documents, through declassified documents, the fact that Kennedy was withdrawing from Vietnam and that he was winding down the Cold War. This is being ignored in my country. In other words, the official history is continuing to dominate, and my film is proposing an unofficial, a guerrilla history, and I think it's been unduly ignored.
Of course, the assassination for you personally must have been a pivotal event in your life.
You know, I think we all reacted the same in America. We were relatively naive. I was 17 years old. I was in high school. We bought the cover story that Oswald did it alone.
You were in Dallas. You recreated the assassination in Dallas. You're there. You've got the motorcade being recreated. You've got people in period costume. That must have been a very emotional experience for a lot of people.
It was haunting. It was scary. We, the only ones who ever really, in full, recreated the motorcade. We had the noise, the crowd cheering. We were up on the 6th floor. We were on every single angle of the motorcade with cameras everywhere. And, of course, we saw things that we never believed. I mean, we saw the trajectories and understood the angles. And then, a lot of the echoes, we heard the echoes, too. It was... you know, it's moving and scary. And
I find it surprising that, notwithstanding your film, that the Warren Commission report and the House files aren't open until 2029. What do you think we're going to find when we see those files?
Well, you know, as the movie says, nothing is on paper to murder the president. And I find that, you know, In intelligence agencies, these things are done in a very discreet and cellular fashion, and it was probably a very small and secret conspiracy. But I do think the paperwork might show us the trail of Oswald and his relationship to intelligence agencies, that he was, in fact, a classic double agent, and that would show us that Mr. Ruby not only was a mafia, had mafia connections, but he also had intelligence agency connections.
This JFK's obviously, Oliver, the third part of your personal Vietnam trilogy, Platoon, Born on the 4th of July. Anything else in store on this front?
Yeah, I'm probably going to say a third Vietnam movie. I feel strongly that it's still not complete as a cycle. And I have something in mind, but I really don't know if I'm going to do it next. So right now, I'm kind of tired. I've done 7 movies in 7 years. And I'm going to take a little rest, and I'm going to do some writing.
Any more Conan the Barbarians?
Why not? You know, I like those kind of movies, too. I like spectacles, and I'd like to do a romance.
What about a comedy?
That would be a real, that would be a challenge for me. I think that's quite a high art form, and I think I got to get funnier first, and I might try it later on in my life.
Oliver, it's been a great pleasure talking to you. Apart from anything else and the insight into the movie, we've reaffirmed that, in fact, your middle name is William, if there be any doubt. Oliver, all the best in the Academy Awards. It really is. It's a great film, JFK, and it deserves all the success that it achieves.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks. Would you thank Oliver William Stone? We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more after